I'm Allison Sheridan from the NosillaCast Mac podcast, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Macintosh bias. I am joined today for a special episode of Chit Chat Across the Pond with, this week, for the very first time, we're going to have Chuck Joyner from Mac Voices TV.
Hello, Allison. I'm sorry, I fell asleep during the introduction.
Oh, was it a little long? I tell you what, let's make sure you understand who Chuck is and find out how many shows Chuck actually has. Why don't you start us from the top?
Okay, I started off with Mac Voices, which is an audio podcast about Macintosh, then expanded to something called Mac Notables, which is a closed panel of Mac experts you know about. Thank you, yes, I forget. 2 microphones. Ted Landau, Chris Breen, Dave Hamilton, no, not Dave Hamilton.
You're making things up now?
Yeah, I'm completely gone here. It's the end of the show and I'm burned out. Anyway, that's the second show. The third show is called The Mac Jury. It's a panel discussion about all things Macintosh. The fourth show is what? Is something new called the Mac Voices Briefing, which is going to be my take, reviews, editorial comments, that kind of thing. And of course there's Mac Voices TV, which sort of overarches everything and is the video version of any of the shows that I do.
So my show description was long, Chuck? Is that what you're saying?
Hey, you asked. I didn't ask for yours.
Well, this is fun having Chuck on because he's my arch nemesis. And
as your arch nemesis, I tried to think of something that I could do that would demonstrate that. I could only think of one thing.
You going to shove me out of my chair?
No, can I do it?
Sure.
Okay, I need this.
What?
All right.
What are you doing? Ah! He kissed me! Oh, I got Chuck cooties. At least it was on my hand, I can wash that.
Thank you.
All right, Chuck, I want to turn slightly serious for a moment. So you did a really cool talk yesterday on managing all the data that flows into us. But you know I'm not going to leave you with saying it was really good and make you think that I bought all that stuff you said, right?
No, I would be shocked if you did, Allison.
Okay, so I listen to people like Nightwise from Nightwise.com on my show talk about getting feeds of RSS feeds and shoving them from this tool into that tool into that tool. You talked about doing that. Don McAllister has talked about you go into Pocket and read it later and RSS feeds and all these different All right, we just got photobombed by Katie Floyd. That's good. Video bombed.
Video bombed.
That's our first video bomb. So anyway, so you get all this stuff. You get the articles you want to read, and you take them into an RSS reader, and then you move them into Pocket and read it later, and then you shove them over. I don't know. They probably go through Evernote on their way. What I always want to know is when is later? When do people read all this stuff?
Serious question, serious answer.
Don't say the bathroom.
No. Over lunch, anytime you have between appointments on the road, I mean, that's the beauty of the mobile devices. You never have to waste any time. I realize that sounds a little obsessive, but that's really the way that I do it. And also, you designate so much time, just like you in the old days when you had a newspaper. Instead of sitting down and reading a newspaper with maybe a lot of information that I don't want, I've tried to take it and narrow down my information to what I really need to see and focus on that so that when I'm actually spending that time, I'm spending it more productively.
So the thing I don't buy is you people seem to spend a lot of time fooling around with all these apps. It looks to me like it's just an excuse to get a whole bunch more apps and play with them.
No, that's probably a fair observation, but I don't think it's true. Just like anything, it takes time to set it up and experiment and find out what works for you. For example, Instapaper. It doesn't take that long to set it up, but it takes a little while to sort of get in the mindset of, I see a link that you've shared on Twitter, and I click it, I find it interesting, but I really don't have time to look at it right then. I click Instapaper and then forget about it, because I know it'll be in my reading list later to pick up. And so
I never seem to have later.
Well, see, now if you'd have showed up on time at the talk yesterday.
Okay, so I was about 20 minutes late.
Yeah, you missed a couple of the key things, and I'm dead serious about this. You know, it's about choice, it's about discipline, it's about practice. But the big thing is it's want versus need. You know, what do I need to know versus what do I want to know? And
prioritizing those? And
prioritizing those. And, you know, my favorite example is to beat on network TV and say, you know, if you're watching network TV, you know, the biggest loser is not on network TV. It's sitting in the chair watching network TV.
Oh, I thought you were going to say sitting in the chair next to me.
No. Thank you. No, it's utilizing your time and really deciding what works for you and what you need to know. And the other example I used yesterday with something like Entertainment Tonight. I mean, it's like sugar candy. You know, everybody looks at it and, oh, you know, what is who doing and what stupid thing did some celebrity do? And you realize if you sit down and watch that, you've wasted 100% half an hour. How much network TV do you folks watch? And you figure if you cut that out, how many hours a week would you get back? And what could you do with 3, 5, 7, 10, 12, 14, 18 extra hours a week? You can get a lot done. And all of a sudden you can prioritize things. You have the time to prioritize it, consume it, and use it. I
think that's fabulous advice. You know, some of my good buddies are the SMR podcast guys. And Rob Dunwood and Chris Ashley are always making fun of Rod Simmons because he takes the time to like read books, and they're busy playing video games and watching movies and stuff. Now, I don't think they watch network TV that much. Well, okay, then they have all the time they spend watching football, and I'm thinking, yeah, this guy's getting some stuff done, you know, because he's not watching TV.
And again, it all depends on what your priorities are. If you love sports, hey, great, you know, 3, 4, 5 hours a weekend or more watching the football games, that's a priority for you.
That's choice, just like you said, right?
That's choice. And so I find it a little disingenuous when you come to me and say, but I don't have time to keep up with everything you do. But did you see what happened last night on America's Voice got voted off the island or something? No, I didn't. Of course not. You know, what kind of idiot would sit there and watch that? Sorry to all you idiots out there.
They aren't idiots. They just make different choices.
Okay, that's fair. They make different choices. And
well, it sounds like it's just like budgeting money, right? You run into people who say, I can't afford that. And you say, well, you just didn't choose to afford that. You spent all your money over on this other thing. So if you invest your time properly, the way that makes you happy, then you can make those choices.
Yeah, amen. That's a great example.
Now, I find, though, that there's so much to read that I'm just, like, by the time I'm done dealing with all my email for the day, and, you know, you and I both have day jobs, too. So on top of the 62 shows he does, he has a day job. Don't list him again, please. You know, I get done reading my email, I got to check Twitter, I check to my direct messages first, then I do my app messages, then I try to see what the Mac Roundtable's up to in case they've been misbehaving in some way, check a few new Silicastaways, and it's bedtime.
Yeah.
So when is later for me to go read anything anybody oh, and by the way, I'm writing a show at the same time. Oh, you don't write your shows, you just get on and talk.
Well, no, that's okay, it's a lot of truth to that, because my shows are a little bit different than Allison's. Mine aren't scripted.
You mean they're not prepared? Is that what you said?
No, they're prepared, but they're not scripted, and there's a big difference.
I'm just teasing you,
I know, but I have to treat it seriously, because if not, then this whole thing falls apart. But no, if you're going to interview someone about a product, you need to have some kind of background. You may not need to know everything, and a lot of times, the more you know, the more you can play devil's advocate or be sort of an uninformed potential user and ask the right questions.
Yeah, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. One of the things I do here is I say, okay, give me the 1-minute version, and if they're interesting, then, or a lot of times I walk up and I say, well, hey, there's no way this could work. That's stupid. I start with that line because, you know, that's endearing to them. And then but then I get the answer so that then I know how to ask it politely during the interview.
You're all about the schmooze, Allison. You really are.
Making friends right and left here, you know.
No, but you know, your points. I think you're asking some great questions, and I unfortunately there is no magic. We all only have so many hours per day, and so much mind share to give to whatever our passions are, and that's where the choice and the discipline come in. And you know, maybe you can't. For example, you and I both know a number of people. We all have friends in the podcast community. I'd love to listen to everybody's shows, but even if I turn it up to 3 times speed, I can't keep up with everyone's, so I have to make choices. And to make it a little self-centered, with my shows, I tell people, please don't try to watch or listen to everything. You know, if it's a topic or a product you're interested in, listen, I'd love if you've watched and listened to everything. But if it's something that you're not interested in, skip over that particular episode. Save yourself that 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes and use it on something that's important to you, and then come back. Maybe next show I'll have something important to you.
You know, that's a good point. One of the things that drives me crazy is people will always say, oh, I'm really sorry, I'm behind. And it's like, you don't have to watch all of them, or listen to all of them. You know, listen, stop listening. There'll be another one next week. There's another hour of content coming next week. You got plenty of there's never not enough podcasts to listen to. So they're not like magazines, like you invested in them and, trees got cut down and you better read them. Guilt is the worst thing that we shouldn't have. And Chuck and I were talking about, we do have a problem because we hang out with other podcasters. There's no way we can listen to each other. So I'm always really afraid somebody's going to say, did you hear my last show? It's like, no, sorry. No, but I'm getting to it. It's on my list. Right?
Yeah, and to take that to a step that more people can relate to, there are some amazing resources in the Mac community for news and information. Macworld, the Mac Observer, Tidbits, Take Control, all the podcasts we do. I could go on and on and on. And the thing is, if you're not doing this as a passion or for business, then maybe you really don't need all of those. Maybe you need to pick the ones that are your favorites or that deliver the information that's most relevant to you. And then, look at the others occasionally, sure, but, do some trimming. And if you trim my show, that's okay. That just means I need to get better at creating relevant content so I can beat Allison.
So, you talk about trimming, but I saw you had a screenshot of your Google Reader list, and it was like 75 different feeds packed in there. You're not really reading all those.
No, you're right. I'm not really reading every feed. I am scanning every feed. I am picking out the articles. But the one that jumps to mind for absolutely no good reason, because it's complete junk and I shouldn't use it, is the Ashton Kutcher story about getting sick on the Steve Jobs diet. Okay.
How many times did you see that in your feed?
Exactly. I saw it in the feed, but that doesn't mean I read it. I might have read it once, but all the news sources covered it. Okay, fine. I saw it. There's really not going to be much more. On the other hand, if somebody covered a new Mac or better yet, a new third-party piece of hardware, I may read every single review because every single reviewer probably will bring something different to the table. So that's the way I differentiate it.
Now, do you have a driving commute or train or anything like that, any kind of commute?
Not really truly that, but I do spend a lot of time on the road.
Because I was going to tell you, you might want to check out what Nightwise does, because he does a lot of the steps that you do, but then he shoves it like through a Linux server, through some other software that actually reads it to him. Because he's got an hour and 15, hour and a half commute every day. So his setup is hysterically elaborate. And again, I think it's another excuse for just a whole bunch of toys.
My time is in the car is used up by podcasts. And, and with very rare exceptions, I usually listen to them at least 2 to 2.5 times speed. And you'd be surprised at how easy that is to train yourself to do. Now, there are a couple that I don't want to, because I would characterize them as almost performances rather than the other kind of content. And also there are those shows that run on and on and on, like for an hour, that really you can cut through very, very quickly and easily. But seriously, try it. Start yourself at 1.5 times and gradually build up. There are also some people and the way they deliver their message and just their speech pattern, you can't listen to it at double and triple speed. And there's some, you can crank it up to three times speed, you don't lose anything, and you wish you could go faster.
I'm actually amazed. Some people listen to me at 2 and 3x. I was doing a talk this morning, and the woman was doing the sign language, and I was not 1 minute in when she went, "Hey, Ani, you're just gonna have to slow down." So I can't do this. And I was paralyzed because I don't know how to talk slower. I have one speed, and she says, "Try changing from 4th to 2nd, slow down." Okay, ma'am, I'll be good. But I do. I have friends who now I have noticed one thing. One friend of mine, I will not name him and call him out here, but he listens to me at 3x. He's been listening for like 2 years, and the other day he asked me my email address. I say my email address in every single episode. I'm thinking, what are you picking up,
Yeah, it's an acquired skill, and once again, it may not be for everybody. It's just one more thing that you can do that may help you manage some of your content consumption.
So, are you a speed reader too?
Actually, it's funny you ask that. Actually, I took speed reading in college, and I still do practice a lot of that.
No, I'm a slow reader, letter by letter. Sometimes I can get a whole word in at once.
I would love to recommend the app, and I can't tell you the name of it. I don't remember, but Clayton Morris wrote it.
Oh, I heard about that. Yeah, where it shows you one word at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting because Leo said he had panned it on iPad today, and then Clayton says, "Oh, here's my new app," and he was all excited about it. And Leo's like, "Oh man, dude, I panned that. I would have said it was good if I'd known it was you." Well, I don't think that's right.
Yeah, well, the funny thing about that app is that's exactly opposite the way that I was taught to speed read. I was taught to grab chunks of text at a time. Read down the center of the page, let your peripheral vision gather stuff up. That's a different method of speed reading, and apparently it's effective. I think it's all in how you train yourself. But we're back to one of the things that I said yesterday, practice. You got to practice this stuff. You can't just think it's going to happen. And I'm sorry, that means all of you have to do a little work, but...
I don't want to do any work.
I've listened to your show.
What's that?
I've listened to your show.
Oh, you really listen?
Yeah.
Once?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I said that in response to you say you do no work.
Oh, okay. I do a little bit of work.
She missed it.
Yeah. So let's turn the tables a little bit. You want to talk about anything cool you saw on the show floor?
Oh, boy. There's so much cool stuff. And under heading of disclaimer, the transporter, which is kind of right sort of behind us, I was a beta tester. That's really a cool product. That's something I think is going to be amazingly useful once you truly understand what it does and how it works.
So we were just told by Lorene Romero right before we came over here that we needed to go over there. Why don't you tell people what it is?
Okay, I'll do my best, but I really would encourage you, they'll do a better job. But you're all familiar with Dropbox, okay? This is like your own private Dropbox at home. So you have the drive sitting just on your network. It sits there right beside your desk. You can access any data on that from anywhere in the world, on your iDevice, on another Mac. You can share data out just like a Dropbox shared folder. I mean, the similarities are staggering. The big differences are, number one, security, the fact that you control your data. Anything that's going out is being encrypted, so you don't have that issue, but you're not storing any data on anyone else's server. The other aspect of it is that it is so much less expensive. Once you buy the drive and the transporter, it's right there. So you're not paying Dropbox X number of dollars per year for something measured in gigs, when here you can start dropping 1 and 2 terabyte drives in and have all that storage.
That sounds pretty cool. I haven't checked it out, like I said. One of the coolest things we saw that I don't need, but I really, really liked it, was Corning has come out with optical Thunderbolt cables, where they demonstrated they had 2 Thunderbolt drives. They were moving data from one Thunderbolt drive to the other over this optical Thunderbolt cable that was 35 meters long.
Wow.
Then they took another one and went from the second Thunderbolt drive to a display on a 100-meter cable, and it was just perfect. So 135 meters is what, triple that in feet, right? Sorry, the Australian's laughing at me. Philip's laughing because I had to convert it to English units there. But anyway, the amazing thing was that this fiber is incredibly durable. Because the first thing I said was, okay, it's glass, it's going to break, right? And they had a block of glass with holes drilled in it that were just the diameter of one of these cables bent 180 degrees. And they shoved it into those holes, like 2 of them, and then he tied a piece of it in a knot, and he had a laser pointer hooked to one end, and you could see the beam was still coming out perfectly fine. So I thought that thing was really cool. I totally do not need my monitor 100 meters away from me, but I could.
Yeah. The other cool thing is just up the aisle here from Belkin is a dock that plugs into Thunderbolt and then gives you one Thunderbolt connection and then gives you a couple USB 3s, FireWire 800.
Both of them?
Yeah, FireWire 800, which of course you can convert to 400. I honestly forget what, but you could connect a desk full of devices into this just one dock and then connect it to one of your one Thunderbolt port, and you've got everything right there. That it was, I believe, don't hold me to it, it was around $299, I think, but it would be well worth it just to try to keep track of everything. Because I don't know about you, but we've all gathered up smaller drives and things that we want to use, and it, after a while you burn up ports very, very quickly, and you can only daisy chain so many things. I don't care what the tech specs say, you can only daisy chain so many before you start to have issues.
I looked at that. It was pretty expensive, though. I think it was like $180 or something.
No, that was like closer to $300, $299, $300.
Oh yeah, whatever it was a number bigger than I was willing to pay. But it did bring up an interesting solution, because Steve got me a Thunderbolt drive for my Mac. I have to unplug my monitor in order to use it. So if I'm running a backup, I have to sit there and look at the little screen until for the 900 minutes it takes for my drive to back up.
Yeah, and here we go again. This seems to be a theme that's developed, Allison. It's what you want and versus what you need. If you really have the need how productive is it for you to be unplugging your monitor every time you want to use that drive?
I don't get that much done anyways. So.
Well, that's true. Okay.
Hey, let me switch it to something else fun. I've been combing the floor looking for a device that would work with the iPhone 5 with the new 9-pin connector as a battery case, like a Mophie juice pack or a Boost case. And there's a company called Hypercell that's going to be delivering around the end of the month. And they didn't have the price yet, but their iPhone 4 model was around $79. Would do 2 full phone charges. I needed that at the day one of this conference, that's for sure.
Yeah, everybody needs power. Everybody needs power, and this is something I plan to talk about on future shows, but I'm changing my attitude toward cases. I'm starting to think there is no, in fact, I know there is no perfect case for everyone, but I do think there are perfect cases for situations. In a conference situation like this, a powered case, I think, is perfect. On vacation, maybe a case that has an enhanced lens for picture taking is going to be the perfect thing.
Or durable that you can drop in the pool.
Or waterproof.
Rod Simmons.
Okay. There's a story there?
He saved his son, but the phone didn't make it when his son fell in the pool. I mean, his son did make it. The phone didn't make it.
Glad you clarified that.
Yeah, that was a good choice.
Yeah, so I'm starting to think I need an arsenal of cases to adapt to certain situations.
Well, I want to show off to the audience here my case of choice. This is a monoprice bumper case. It costs $3.63, and that's only because it's the white one. I have another one that's black, and it was $2.50. Monoprice.com. I love their pricing.
I love Monoprice, but I'll show you my current everyday case because I haven't adopted my case for the occasion strategy yet. It's almost invisible. It's Zero Chroma's kickstand case. Now you say, big deal, there are plenty of kickstand cases. First of all, this is small, it's like a bumper case, it's got some finger grips on the side, but the great thing is it has the kickstand, it pulls out, and I know that's terribly impressive, right? The cool thing about it is, though, that's landscape, but it rotates.
Oh, I wondered why your phone had a circle on the back all the time I was looking at it.
It rotates. Now, I can also put it portrait mode. And you'd be surprised at how nice and convenient that is to put on your desk somewhere and watch your Twitter stream go by, which is really much more effective in this orientation. But of course, if you're going to watch a movie or a video, then you put it in that orientation. And the great thing is it just doesn't add any significant bulk or size to the iPhone. So this is my current choice for everyday case. That
might actually come in real handy with an app I was just talking about in my session. Is it Air Display from Avatron? I think that's what it's called, that allows you to use your iPhone or iPad as a secondary display. So I have done that before. I've set Twitter up on my iPhone while I'm sitting. I guess you could just have Twitter on your iPhone in that case. There was some reason. Oh, I know I had a text message thing running or something. I forget. It was something cool I needed externally, so that would help.
Yeah, and that to me is making better use of the tech you have. You could run a separate app on your iPhone, and that may be the best solution. There may be other times when it'd be nice to stick a palette or something over on an iPad beside and gain more screen space.
So one more thought on the show floor. I've noticed that there's a lot more room over in the app area, in the Appaloosa area, maybe it's because there weren't as many vendors, but there's a lot more room to move around, and I found myself really wanting to go to those little booths even more than I usually do.
I think they've made a distinct choice here to try to give us more room. Everybody says, oh, they couldn't sell it. Well, guess what? They moved the stages upstairs. So now that spread things out a little bit. And they moved a number of things off the show floor up into other areas to create more space here. And it's a much nicer experience to not have to fight through crowds, or at least fight through as much. Today's been very busy. In the app area especially, because those are small booths, and it's so nice to be able to actually get to them and maybe see the demos and then move around instead of trying to stand 3 deep and wait your turn. You can create a little halo around them. So I think it's great.
The only problem I'm having is I'm having trouble finding companies that I meant to go to. So the vendors all gave us, in the press things, they gave us the booth number. So I wrote them all down. I did not notice that 6 of them said 718. Yeah, 718 is just this giant block, and I've gone up. There's one company, I know they're here, because I ran into the owner at the bar last night at Cirque du Mac. So I know he's here. He just happened to tell me the name of his company. I was like, oh, I got to go see you guys. Kirsch and Steve and I have been up and down 718 4 times. We cannot find this company. Do you remember what it was called, Kirsch? Was it Service Pal? Anybody found Service Pal?
Yeah, I've seen it over there. Don't remember exactly where, but yeah, they're there.
Yeah, I can't find them.
Oh.
Anything else cool about the show? What did you think of the Tech Talks?
I thought the Tech Talks were great. The biggest problem, and it's a nice problem for the show to have, is such high quality and such diversity. There were so many I wanted to get to, and they conflicted with other things that I wanted to get to or that I was presenting. So that just means I've got to come back next year and try to catch up with those. But yeah,
like I said on the Mac Roundtable, I find it really funny. Last year I ran into people who said, oh yeah, I did the show floor in like an hour and a half. I saw everything. There's nothing there. So, we've been going up and down and up and down and finding just amazing gems here. And I have not been bored. I don't have enough time. I need this to go on like 2 more days, except I'm exhausted.
I agree 100%. I'd like to take those people and beat them with a chair. But the funny thing is, Allison, I'm not going to call any names, but last year I heard the same thing. And the funny thing is, for the next 3 or 4 months, all of a sudden during a show, they would pop up and say, hey, I found this cool new app. And it's like, yeah, and I talked to them at Macworld 4 months ago. They were there, you didn't take the time. So I'm sorry, if you're a journalist and you're not taking the time, I don't want to hear about how sad this show is. This show is dynamic, it's vibrant, there's huge content here if you take the time to stop at the booths, talk to the people and find out, period.
And I do have to agree with you on the quality of the presentations too, and I even went to yours. So I'm saying that it's definitely a lot of fun. I've had a blast.
So everything was uphill for mine? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
pretty much.
I figured.
Well, I want to close this out because we only had a 30-minute slot here, but I'd like to give a shout out to Tim Verpoorten, Ken Ray, and Victor Cahiao, who are not here this year, but they will be next year, they promised.
That's good, and I would agree. Someone earlier in the week described this best, and now I apologize. I'd love to give them credit for it. They said this is like a big family reunion. And it truly is, and not just for the people that know each other here and are friends and come every year, but for everyone. You can strike up a conversation so easy standing next to someone in a booth because you have something in common, and that's the use and appreciation of these products. This is where you should be if you are a Mac or Apple user. I can't imagine why you wouldn't, if there's any way you can afford it and can get the time off work, why you wouldn't come here and have fun. And even if you take one extra day and hang out in the city, San Francisco's fantastic. So I want to see everybody back here next year, and everybody listening should be in the audience next year.
All right, everybody else having fun here? All right, yeah. Thank you very much. We should close this out one more time. Just one URL, Chuck. Tell them where they can find you.
Best place, especially for the show coverage here, macvoices.tv. All
right, thanks, Chuck. It wasn't as bad as I thought having to talk to you.
It was a genuine pleasure, Allison. Can I kiss your hand again?
Oh, I'll give you a hug. No.